It's day 2 of the gathering. This time it goes beyond the newly authored book, Arise and Shine by business mogul Jim Ovia. It's the maiden edition of Zenith Global Economic Forum, holding on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York. Right here in the middle of the town, all eyes are on Nigeria, and the brain behind this event explains why.
If people had called me and said, look, we are not government. Why don't we leave this for government to do? What's our interest? What's the deal here? They always think anything we do, there must be a deal. There's no really deal other than the deal for Nigeria.
That sets the tone for further conversations. A panel, which include top government officials, take turns to highlight the factors that make Nigeria an investment hub.
The business environment in Nigeria has received a lot of attention because when we set out, we decided that we must have a plan that is coherent and that includes all the sectors of the economy. And we realized that there was a need to make sure that the plan is underpinned by the activities of the private sector. So the ERGP, the Nigeria Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, is driven largely by the private sector. The plan is designed to situate government just as an enabler so that businesses can do what the businesses do best, and we are just there to provide solutions and remove bottlenecks where they exist. In the financial sector, there is a lot of discipline that has been put in place, a lot of rigor to ensure that there's good corporate governance and that there's financial discipline in managing the limited resources that we have as a country. We have introduced a lot of efficiencies in the management of resources, and also measures have been taken to ensure financial sustainability, both in our debt service as well as in revenue. We have clearly articulated in our plan the effort to diversify our economy away from our over-dependence from oil and gas revenues to non-oil sector. So you will see the efforts yielding results in the contribution of the non-oil sector, the increasing contribution of the non-oil sector to our gross domestic product. The last GDP report that was released shows a growth rate of 2.5%, which is the highest that we have attained in a very long time in the non-oil sector. And also, it's instructive that the GDP contribution of the oil sector in Nigeria is actually just 10%. So we're a country that is largely driven by the non-oil sector. We also are a country that is largely driven by the private sector.
At the moment, in the last 3 years, we have increased power production from 4,000 megawatts to 7,000 megawatts. And this year, there is another 940 coming to be delivered. Next year, 1,115. And these are on-grid supplies only. But where we have the big challenge now is at the 33 kV and 11 kV points where the transmission companies hand over the power to the distribution companies. That's where the biggest investments have to go today. Now, as my colleague has said, you will go back a long time to find a government that has been so clear in its purpose as saying that our core mission here is to do our job well so that the private sector can do what it does best. You will go back a long time in a team that is so united in that common pursuit that this is a private sector driven economy that we can only lead by laws, regulation, and support and infrastructure. That said, we have started to build out some of the infrastructure that is not commercially viable, like energy, road networks, rail networks. And the country, even in its very difficult financial times, is trying to do more with less resources. So major rail networks have commenced, so have road networks construction, and the target is very clear in our mind, to ease the cost and the time for doing business.
There is no how you will say that you want to entirely focus on price and monetary stability when you are in an economy where there is a lot of, we call it infrastructure deficit. You need to finance agriculture. You need to think about how do you provide jobs for your people. You are not going to sit down and begin to just talk about inflation, price stability, and stuff like that. So that is why you will find that a responsible governor of a central bank in a developing economy will naturally focus on issues like this that border on developing the economy and lifting the level of poverty, or improving the level of poverty in the country, and then creating jobs for our people.
Though the country is facing some challenges, a cross-section of business owners in Nigeria gladly share their experiences and gains.
When we began, Nigeria was 35 million people in 1960. Today it's over 185 million people, growing at 3% a year of population. One comment to the gentleman earlier about CCI. We have never had in our 57 years one problem with a CCI or capital exportation. Capital is sacrosanct in Nigeria. It has been for 57 years, and there's trust me on one thing, Nigeria is not only open for business, it is pro-business and pro-capital. And there's always has been and always will be.
It is very important for us to let everyone know that Nigeria is indeed open for business, and nowhere is that truism more apt than in the media. And that's why people like Luka Obaibina have interloped into the broadcast world, from newspapers to television. So I think it's very important for us to begin to change the narrative by letting people know what's available in Nigeria. Look at the TV industry, for instance. Nigeria is a country of 180 million people. The dominant players there and the pay TV business, apart from the terrestrial stations, which are about 100 TV stations and 135 radio stations, the dominant players are MultiChoice, a South African concern, and StarTimes, which is a joint venture between the Nigerian government and the Chinese concern. Together they have 4 million subscribers. In 18 years that MTN has been in Nigeria, it has only about 1.3 million subscribers. The opportunities are great. For a country with 180 million people, 44 million TV households, anyone who wants to invest in that sector has a great opportunity waiting for him. Those are the kind of stories we have to tell to let people know that the country is indeed a gold mine and indeed open for business.
And what's driving a lot of the additional areas in our GDP, like somebody mentioned the media, is the fact that the first television set most Nigerians ever have is the phone. So they watch the videos, they watch the movies, they watch everything. If you look at, so in terms of, so you do get a lot of value, ease of doing business. So we all talk about why the economy is growing. Everybody sells a good, everybody sells a service. The only reason why we sell our goods and services is to exchange money. In reality, most of us don't need to be physically present when we exchange goods and services. So one big driver in our country where infrastructure costs so much money, but at the end of the day, broadband is so much cheaper, is that we're going to see huge drivers in the next couple of years. I see it, and I say everybody who's not involved, please get involved. The next major phase of making a lot of money on our continent is the fact that what is so expensive to do physically now becomes very cheap, okay, to do it there. So effectively, we will exchange a lot of goods and services within our country without the physical presence of us there because it's too expensive. So the only thing that needs to move around are not the people really, because we'll be transferring those services. It's going to be the goods moving. And this leapfrogging thing you started out talking about is actually critical and will make a huge difference.
For investors, if the current reforms are sustained, with the private sector playing a leading role in driving the economy, Nigeria has all it takes to attract more global audience, particularly in investments.
When a project is good,